1500 प्रीलोडेड गानों वाला कीपैड फोन धमाकेदार साउंड के साथ कारवा मोबाइल।
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Personal versus impersonal. Worshipping the form of God in the temple is better, or worshipping the unmanifest impersonal energy which is spread everywhere? Arjuna asks a direct question, and Lord Krishna gives a direct response. Lord Krishna also explains the relative positions of different types of yoga: Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Karma Sannyas. So it's very important chapter, and then Lord Krishna explains, among all these transcendentalists, who is the one who is most dear to him. Without delay, let's get started with chapter 12, Devotional Service. This session is dedicated to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, our spiritual master and the founder and acharya of the worldwide Hare Krishna movement. Let us see verse 1. Arjuna uvacha evam satata yukta ye bhaktastvam paryupasate ye chapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamah. Arjuna inquired, which is considered to be more perfect, those who are properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahma, the unmanifested? So it's a direct question. Arjuna is attached to the personal form of God. He has been playing with that two-handed form, and when he saw universal form in the previous chapter, his position as a very intimate devotee of Lord Krishna got disturbed, and he started offering respects on all sides. So Arjuna has always been attached to the two-handed form only, which he requested, Lord Krishna, I am afraid, my mind is bewildered seeing this form, kindly show your original form. But there has also been a class of transcendentalists who worship the impersonal energy, which is also one feature of Krishna. That impersonal energy is situated on the personality of God, but some people tell no, energy is the absolute and the forms are secondary. So Arjuna wants to have his position very clear here. I am attached to your personal form, but please tell me decisively which is better, worshipping the energy or worshipping your form, which I am attached to. So you can see also the words very clearly, Satata yukta ye bhaktas tvam paryupasate. Whether bhakta, your devotee, is better, who is satat means always, devotee has no other business, but always he is engaged in the service of Krishna. Whereas other class of transcendentalists, what do? Aksharam avyaktam. Avyak means which is unmanifest, aksharam, which cannot be described, cannot be captured by the senses. So which among the two is better? So let's see what Lord Krishna replies. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Veshya Mano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayopetas Te Me Yukta Tamamatah. The blessed Lord said, he whose mind is fixed on my personal form, always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith, is considered by me to be most perfect. So just see, it cannot be more clearer than this. Mai aveshyam mano yamam, mai aveshyata chetasam. These words Lord Krishna is using very, very regularly in the Bhagavad Gita. Whose mind is mai aveshya, attached to me. Nitya yukta upasate, always he is engaged in upasana, worshipping me. So this is Lord Krishna's verdict. Shraddhaya parayopeta, with great faith, one who is a bhakta, devotee, he is best according to Krishna. Ye tvaksharam anirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatra gam achintyam cha kutastham achalam dhruvam sanniyam yendriyagramam sarvatra samabuddhayah te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hite ratah. Lord Krishna explains, Tu means but. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading inconceivable, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. So both ways are ultimately going to Krishna. One path is direct, another path is indirect. In this path, what a person is supposed to do? Aksharam anirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate. So this feature is aksharam. It is beyond the perceptions, unmanifested, avyaktam. And if you want to advance on this path, then Sanniyam yendriya gramam. First of all, the indriya senses have to be controlled perfectly. So perfectly that all the sensual activity should be completely stopped. Just like a child is completely absorbed in a virtual game, a computer game, he cannot perceive reality unless he stops playing the game, because his senses are engaged over there. In a similar fashion, as long as our senses are engaged in this illusory world, one cannot perceive reality. One cannot understand the existence of spirit or the super spirit, super soul. So when all the actions of the senses are stopped, one stops hearing all the voices outside, hears Omkar from within, and one tries to search the super soul within himself, stop seeing all the external forms, stop talking, stop eating, all the sensual activity should be stopped. That's a very difficult task. Can we imagine a person who is not doing any sensual activity, not eating, not sleeping, not talking? Yes. Even though it is tough, but this stage has to be achieved. And once the sensual activities are stopped, one can understand the presence of super soul, which is present everywhere. That is reality. Super soul is reality. These forms are illusion. The same matter. Food which we have eaten, it has got deposited here in our body. Now our body has got certain form. This form is not ours. We are the souls within the body. These forms keep on changing. We had childhood form, young form, old form. Then next life we can take animal form or demigod form, tree form. So these forms are not reality. Reality is spirit. So activities on this illusory platform should be stopped. Then one can understand the presence of super soul, soul everywhere. Sanniyam yendriya gramam sarvatra samabuddhaya. And then one becomes equally disposed to all the living entities. Sarvatra samabuddhaya. Because he stops seeing the outward dresses, tiger, lion, cat, dog, plants, vegetables. He just sees the spirit soul inside, accompanied by the super soul. Te prapnuvanti mameva. They also attain me sarvabhuta hite rataha. And also they have to sarvabhuta hite rata means they are engaged in the welfare work of all the living entities. So some people tell, so-called spiritualists, it is very dangerous now. So many cults have popped up. And they tell, actually, spirit is completely different from body. That we also agree, that is fact. But they tell, spiritual activities are different from bodily activities. You can eat meat very nicely, and then you can advance in spiritual life also. Because eating is for the body, spiritual life, meditation is for spirit. Yes, that is fact. Matter is different from spirit. But now we are conditioned by this body. You can ask such people who tell you eat everything, you can do anything, and at the same time you can advance in spiritual life. No, complete regulation of mind and body is required, because now we are conditioned by our mind and body. That is why the spirit soul is same in the dog's body and in our body also. Why a dog cannot make spiritual advancement on its own? Because the body is not suitable. So now we are conditioned by this body. So such spiritualists, do they get affected if they touch fire? Yes. So can we tell them you sit on fire and do meditation? No, we have to be cautious. Similarly, don't they eat anything? They get affected by hunger pangs? Yes. So we are getting affected by this body. As long as we are getting affected by the body, we have to discriminate. But there is a class of very advanced spiritualists who are called avadhutas, who have completely realized that I am different from the body. They can do anything and everything on the external platform. But this is very high, very elevated platform. Just like the example is given among the associates of Lord Chaitanya. So many were there on that platform. 3 days they would stay within water. We will die if we stay more than a couple of minutes underwater. But they would remain completely absorbed in samadhi, meditating on Radha Krishna. And within the water, after 3 days, they would come out, they would start dancing, completely unaware of what has happened. They are called avadhutas. So unless somebody is so much advanced that bodily changes are not affecting him, Prahlad Maharaj, you give him poison, he took poison and then poison turned nectar, no effect on the body. So till that stage is attained, one has to consider, one has to follow the rules and regulations, one must have a sattvic conduct in one's life. So you cannot eat meat, sarva bhuta hite rata, one has to be engaged in the welfare of all the living entities. The same spirit soul is in the body of a goat, hen or XYZ. Why we are discriminating? So that is not proper conduct. One has to see equally, sarvatra samabuddhaya, all the living entities on same platform irrespective of the body, and one must engage in the welfare of all the living entities. In this way, when the senses are under control, they are following rules and regulations, seeing everyone on equal platform, te prapnuvanti mameva, they also at last attain me. So although both will attain Krishna, one is a very short process. In this life you can be successful. In another indirect process of worshipping the impersonal Brahm, it will take, as Krishna has mentioned previously, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyan Man Mam Prapadyante. Bahunam Janmanam, many births it takes. And then when they are sufficiently purified, when they come across a pure devotee, by his association they can advance in devotional service. Like the 4 sons of Brahma, 4 Kumaras, Chatusanas, they took many births to attain perfection. But Dhruv Maharaj, who took to devotional service, he attained perfection within 6 months. So one is direct process, but another is indirect. But if they stick to their process, they also will attain Krishna in the end. So Lord Krishna is telling the first process is best because this takes a very long time. And another reason Lord Krishna mentions here. Kleshodhikatarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavadbhir avapyate. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. So there are 2 classes as we have discussed, Jnanis and Bhaktas. The Jnana yogis usually they worship the impersonal form of the Supreme. They worship the energy. They try to meditate on the energy. And the Bhaktas, they meditate on the personal form of the Lord. So the path of spiritual advancement will be very troublesome for those who have got attached to avyakta, unmanifest energy of the Supreme Lord. Klesho adhikatarastesham avyakt asakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham. So their complete path is miserable, Lord Krishna is telling here. To make progress in that discipline is dehavadbhir avapyate. For those who are embodied, it's very difficult for them to follow. So first of all, it is very difficult to understand this impersonal feature. Energy which is spread everywhere without any discrimination. Whatever we are seeing, it is only Brahma. And understanding the non-perceptual feelings, getting attached to some impersonal energy is so difficult. We get attached to people, personalities very easily. So thus, when you see God's form standing in the temple, which is another incarnation, he is God only, who has taken the form of wood or stone XYZ. They are authorized forms. The example given is crude example, that of letterbox. If you put letter in a post office, now of course we don't put letters like that. Earlier when we are putting the inland letters, hard copies, then either you go to the post office or you go to a letterbox. The end result is same. The letterbox, that red box, is acting in exactly the same fashion. It is acting like a post office. That is authorized. If somebody thinks, oh, let me also make a form which looks like red and I'll paint it like that and put letter over there, that will not go. It will not work because that is not authorized. Similarly, the Archa Vigraha, the forms of the Lord which are carved out of stone or wood or glass, sand, all these are authorized if they are done as per the scriptures under guidance of pure devotee. And if a person worships them, it is exactly as worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no difference. So if we worship such forms present in the temple and we get attached to them, it is natural. Getting attached to a person is very natural for us. But getting attached to some energy, it is so difficult. That is why they sometimes imagine the forms of Krishna, Lord Shiva, Goddess Durga, Lord Ganpati, Sun God. They tell you can imagine any form, ultimately the truth is energy only, but you cannot attach yourself to energy. And unless attachment is there for the Supreme Spirit, you cannot make spiritual advancement, you will get attached to matter. So in order to facilitate such attachment to energy, you imagine any form, and once you are attached to that form, you are on spiritual platform, you understand you are not the body, then you give up meditation on that form also, because anyway that is illusory. So thus sometimes impersonalists also may sing bhajans and they may do kirtans and they may meditate upon the forms of Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, Lord Shiva, but their understanding is all these forms are also illusory, they are not real. So thus it is very, very troublesome. Either they will do such misrepresentations that these forms are illusory and try to do some stopgap arrangement till the time we get liberated. Let us meditate on this form. Others, they try to meditate upon the impersonal feature. So Krishna is telling, kleshaha adhikatarastesham. Their path is very troublesome because they have to understand non-perceptual feelings, get attached to some energy, very tough. Over and above that, they have to artificially control the senses. The material activities of the senses should be stopped, but devotee, by engaging the senses in spiritual service of Krishna, automatically stops their material activities. So impersonalists, they have to stop eating completely. Go sit down in the jungle, reduce your eating. Like Dhruv Maharaj, he was taking some fruits and berries, then he was taking just dry leaves, then he was drinking just water once in a week, then he was just inhaling air, and then inhalation of air also he stopped finally. So if one is able to do that, it is very, very tough, very, very troublesome. Whereas devotee, he also stops his material eating, because whatever he is eating is prasadam, the food which is offered to Krishna, that is spiritual, and he eats as a matter of service. So that is why devotees don't tell, I am eating prasadam. We tell, I am honoring prasadam. Prasadam is another form of Krishna, spiritualized food. So I am honoring prasadam. When we eat, we say that. So thus devotee also controls the eating on material platform in a very simple way by spiritualizing one's eating. A devotee has tendency to fight. To control one's tendency is tough. So impersonalist has to stop the activities, but devotee will fight if fighting tendency is there, but he or she will fight for Krishna, like Arjuna is fighting here. In this, Bhakti Yoga is very easy. Simply the activities are brought to spiritual platform. Activities need not be stopped. But if you have to tell you stop all the activities, such path is very troublesome. So such strict control of the senses, artificially repressing them, suppressing them, and thus it is very troublesome. And ultimately, because the truth is that Absolute is a person. And the impersonal feature is one of the aspects of that personality of Absolute Truth. So eventually you have to understand the personality, then a person cannot give up the impersonal understanding. So again it is troublesome. In this way, overall this path is very, very troublesome in the beginning and in the long run also. Ye tu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparah ananyena yogena mam dhyayanta upasate teshamaham samuddharta mrityu sansara sagarat bhavamina chirat partha maya veshita chetasam. For one who worships me, giving up all his activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, who has fixed his mind upon me, O son of Pritha, for him I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha. So Krishna now is giving contrast from the previous process, which is so much full of troubles. So this other class of transcendentalists, what do? Sarvani karmani mai sanyasya. They give up the activities, but they give up the activities for Krishna, not simply giving up and not doing any activity. No. So real sannyas means giving up the activities for Krishna or unto Krishna. As Krishna tells, so they will act. This is called Mai Sarvani Karmani Mai Sanyasya Mat Paraha. They are attached to Krishna, attached to me. Mat Paraha. So those who give up their activities unto me, they are attached to me. Ananyena yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Without any deviation, they are always thinking of Krishna. Dhyayanta. Always they are meditating on Krishna in all the activities that they do. Tesham aham samuddharta mrityu sansara sagarat. This world is called Mrityu Sansar. Sansriti means repeated birth and death. So here repeated birth and death happens in this world. This is ocean of miseries. So from the ocean, unless a person is airlifted, even the best of the swimmers cannot cross. Similarly, we have fallen in this ocean of death. So Krishna is the swift deliverer for his devotees, whose minds are attached to Krishna. They work only for the satisfaction of Krishna. In the other process, they have to make this body, mind very perfect, suitable, so that they can transfer themselves to any location that they desire. But a devotee doesn't have to wait to reach such perfection. Even if a devotee does not know how to transfer the soul among the chakras and raise it to the head, and then from the Brahmarandra, it is busted here, the top of the head, and the soul reaches the desired location in the spiritual world. So devotee need not wait for that process which yogis follow, because Krishna is the swift deliverer. So is it not the better process? Tesham aham samuddharta mrityu sansara sagarat. Aham samuddharta. I am the swift deliverer. In other process, Gyan Yog, Dhyan Yog, they depend upon their own prowess, their own physical mental capacity. But here devotee doesn't have to wait to develop the capacity. So if the capacity is there, that is very good. If they know the art, if they does not know, it does not matter, because Krishna will deliver them. So this is the best process. When Krishna takes charge, when Krishna is willing to take anybody, who can stop, because he is the topmost power. So thus this is the best process as Lord Krishna has recommended. Bhavami na chirat partha. So in the previous process we have seen Bahunam Janmana Mante. It takes many births. And here chirat means long time. Na chirat means not long, very short time. Bhavami na chirat partha. Gyan yogis will take many births, and a bhakti yogi will not take long. Very shortly I will deliver him. So the only condition Lord Krishna is mentioning is Maya veshita chetasam, Maya veshe manoyamam. Mind should be attached to Krishna. So thus one should always chant the holy names of Krishna, engage in service of Krishna under the guidance of his pure devotee spiritual master. This is the way of getting attachment for Krishna. Attachment for Krishna is a property of lovers of Krishna, his pure devotees. When they are pleased with anybody, they can immediately bestow this attachment upon such sincere disciples. So serving the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is attached to Krishna is the secret for getting one's mind attached to Krishna. Otherwise, artificially, one can read the books, one can do anything, one can chant the names also. Such attachment will not develop. So it so happened that the great king, as I briefly mentioned before about Maharaj Bharat, who was ruler of the entire planet, and then he had to become deer. And from deer, when he took next birth, he understood my mistake was attachment to one deer cub, and thus, even though I was spiritually very advanced, I had to take birth as an animal. Ordinarily, those who follow the path of spiritual life, they get at least a human form. But I did such gross mistake that I had to take this animal form. But by Krishna's mercy, he was able to remember his past 2 births. So he behaved like a madman, Jad Bharat. And because he was behaving like a madman, some people would actually consider him less intelligent. So once a king was going on his palanquin and he needed one palanquin carrier. So he told his men to go and search out for a suitable healthy man who can carry the palanquin along with others. So then Jad Bharat was healthy and he was like a madman. He will not resist. And when they told you please come, he went along with them. And then they told him you carry the palanquin. He was completely dependent upon will of Lord, understanding everything happens by. Of course, we should not artificially imitate him. We should try to plan our day, protect ourselves. But very exalted souls who can perceive the presence of God in every activity, they can practice such absolute dependence. We should not artificially imitate. If we drink poison, we will die. But Prahlad Maharaj can drink poison. Mirabai can drink poison. It can happen with them. So we should understand our position and try not to drink poison. I am not so advanced. But Bharat Maharaj, Jad Bharat, he was very advanced. Whatever people will tell him to do, he will do. He will not rebel. Once the dacoits caught him and they wanted to sacrifice him in front of goddess Chandi, Kali, he agreed. Just like an animal, they were about to kill him. But then the deity of goddess Kali broke apart and Kali appeared and killed all the dacoits. Because ultimately she is also Vaishnavi, energy of Krishna. She could not tolerate that. So he was so much surrendered. You want to kill me? Okay. If Krishna wishes, I will die. Anyway, this is just a change of dress. And now I am serving Krishna, meditating on Krishna. If thinking of Krishna I die, my next life is also successful. But I repeat, unless we are on that platform, we should not imitate such activities. An ordinary devotee, other devotees, they understand this body also belongs to Krishna. I should try my level best to protect my body for the service of Krishna. So when he agreed to go to carry the palanquin, then he was a devotee ultimately. So while carrying the palanquin, he was jumping, hopping a bit, and the king was getting disturbed inside. So he scolded him once, twice. Still Jad Bharat wasn't responding to his chastisement. Then finally king came down. He told, don't you realize that you are a palanquin carrier, you do not know how to do it? Why you are hopping, jumping and giving disturbance to the king? And that he was doing because there were so many ants. So a devotee doesn't even want to kill an ant, because an ant or a human being or a demigod, he sees everyone on equal level. Why should I give trouble to my brother who is in different dress? An ant bodies are just a different and a small dress, but the soul is same which is sitting inside. So that ants don't get trampled, he was hopping and jumping a bit. And then Bharat Maharaj, because anyway he was Paramhansa, most advanced spiritualist, he gave such instructions. Ultimately kings were all very pious, all were approved by the Brahmanas. So he was also having some spiritual knowledge. So when he heard these statements of Jad Bharat, he understood, I have committed a great mistake. He is most advanced spiritualist. So he immediately fell at the feet, he begged pardon, and then he asked him, after offering so much glorification and prayers, please tell me what is the secret of this consciousness, the consciousness which you are carrying, Krishna consciousness, always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna every moment. All the great transcendentalist sages, munis, they are hankering for this consciousness. This is the perfection of life. The Dhyan yogis, they have to sit in one place and somehow they are able to concentrate. Only the most advanced spiritualists, walking, talking, eating, sleeping, drinking, they are able to do this activity always. This perfectional platform. How you have attained this consciousness? Maya Veshya Mano Ye Mam, constant absorption in Krishna's thoughts. So then he spoke this beautiful shloka. he told, Rahu ganay tat tapasa na yati, na chedjaya nirvapanat grahatva, na chandasa naiva jalagni suryair, vina mahatpad rajobhishekam. It means, Rahugana, O King Rahugan, his name was Rahugan. Rahugana tat, this consciousness, tapasa nayati, cannot be attained by tapasya. You do lot of tapasya, you stop eating, drinking, and you take all physical, mental discomforts. You cannot attain this consciousness by tapasya. Tapasa nayati, by becoming sannyasi, you cannot do this. Na chedjaya nirvapanat grahadva, you leave your house or you do worship. Ijjaya, you keep on worshipping, but by worship also you will not attain this. Na chandasa, you read all the Vedas, Purana, scriptures very nicely. You become expert in following brahmacharya. You cannot attain this consciousness. Naiva jalagni suryair, jal agni surya. So this is unique tapasya in chilly winters, chilling temperatures. You keep yourself neck deep in water. Now we will die, of course, we should not practice that, but earlier people were having strong bodies and minds. So in such waters, pinching cold water, they would stand neck deep in it. And then when it is very, very hot, Jala Agni Surya, they will burn Agni all around, and then under hot sun they would sit in scorching Agni. So even if a person does all these kinds of very severe austerities, this consciousness cannot be attained. So by reading Vedas, you cannot attain brahmacharya, you cannot attain leaving your house, you cannot attain becoming sannyasi, you cannot attain. By doing any tapasya, you cannot attain worship, you cannot attain. Then what is left? So he told, Vina mahatpad rajobhishekam. Raj means dust. Mahatpad means the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees, pure devotees. Abhishekam means unless you smear yourself with the dust of the lotus feet of devotees. In other words, unless, yes, the dust of lotus feet of devotees is also powerful. That is why when we go to temples, we touch the steps and put on our head. Some people do not know. Why am I doing this? I am doing this because I am putting the dust. All the devotees are passing over those steps and I am taking the dust of the steps of the devotees. Some very advanced devotees, pure devotee also would have passed. If their dust I take on my lotus feet, then I get spiritually advanced. And it also means following the rules and regulations very, very strictly, completely surrendering oneself. One can smear oneself with somebody's dust. It means one is completely surrendered, sold out to that person. So Vina Mahatpad Rajobhishekam, unless somebody is completely surrendered, he or she is very strictly following the rules and regulations of Mahatpad, of the lotus feet of great devotees, pure devotees. This consciousness cannot be attained. Same thing Prahlad Maharaj is telling. Prahlad Maharaj's status also was like this, so exalted. Snake bite, nothing happens. You throw him from mountain, nothing happens. You put him under the hailstorms, nothing happens. You attack him with deadly weapons, nothing happens. Hiranyakashipu did tapasya for hundreds of years and then he got such amazing powers. And this small 5-year-old child was able to defeat all his powers. So he's surprised, what is the source of your power? So thus Prahlad Maharaj also tells the same shloka, that this consciousness cannot be attained. Matir na Krishne parato swato va Krishnamati, he uses this word, Matir na Krishne. This Krishnamati cannot be attained by people who are very much attached to this material life. Nishkinchana nam na vranita yavat mahiyasam pad rajo abhishekam. Same words he uses. Pad rajo abhishekam mahiyasam. You have to take the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees. So Prahlad Maharaj was fortunate to come in association with Narad Muni, the incarnation of Bhakti Shakti of Krishna, the spiritual master of entire universe. So unless somebody comes in contact with such pure devotees and surrenders unto them, follows the rules and regulations, one study of the Vedas, one can read Bhagwat Geeta very nicely, one can worship Lord in the temple very nicely, but it will not be effective unless these things are done under the guidance of pure devotee, unless one surrenders to a pure devotee. That is why Lord Krishna also told in the very beginning to Arjuna, getting this spiritual knowledge is the result of all the rituals that you follow. And to understand this knowledge, what you have to do is chapter 4, verse number 34. Tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya Tattvadarshina. You have to surrender to Tattvadarshi, render service unto him, surrender unto him, and ask questions. So approaching Tattvadarshis, pure devotees, Mahatpad Rajobhishekam is the common factor everywhere and the only factor. Then everything becomes effective. Then our study of Vedas, our tapasya, our worship, everything becomes, our chanting, it becomes fruitful. So ultimately, a person has to reach this platform. And this Lord Krishna also will explain in the 13th chapter. Acharya Upasanam, worshipping the Acharya, pure devotee, Yo Mad Bhakta Same Priyaha, such devotee who is very dear to me, worshipping him. This is very important element of knowledge. So this condition should be met always. Mai Aveshi Mano Yamam. Mind should be completely absorbed in Krishna. And Krishna tells, Tesham Aham Samudharta. To those who are always thinking of me in all the activities, they are activities dedicated just to me, I will deliver them very soon from this ocean of birth and death. Now Lord Krishna starts describing the yoga ladder, the topmost platform of yoga. Then after that, if you cannot do that, you cannot even do that, what is the next level, fourth rung, like this? Very clearly Lord Krishna will be mentioning. So all our doubts, which path is better, which is best, which is subordinate, it will be very, very clear now. So please hear carefully. Mayeva mana adhatsva Mai buddhim niveshaya Nivasishyasi mayeva Ata urdhvam na sanshayaha. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. So here Krishna is mentioning, Mai eva man adhatsva, Mai buddhim niveshaya. If mind and intelligence are absorbed in Krishna, then a person is living in Krishna, a person is living in the spiritual world. Even though his body may appear to be acting on the material platform, but that person is completely liberated on spiritual platform. This is called Jivan Mukta stage. As a sleeping person appears to be present here in this world, but he's completely unaware. He might be having some pain in the body, some fever, some other problem, but he's completely unaware, aloof. He's not troubled by the physical troubles. He's on subtle plane when he's sleeping or dreaming. In a similar fashion, even though the body is visible and visibly eating, sleeping, acting in this world, but such a person, Mai Aveshi Manoyam, Mai Eva Mana Adhatsva, whose mind is absorbed in Krishna and intelligence also, such a person, Lord Krishna is explaining here, Nivasishyasi Mai Eva, he is living in me only, he is living on the spiritual world. Physical pangs, material pangs do not affect him anymore. So this is the perfection. This is what Lord Krishna is recommending to Arjuna. Absorb your mind and intelligence in me. There is no doubt about it. Now, this is not easy. How much we are able to think of Krishna, we are getting disturbed by the external changes. So Lord Krishna tells, if you cannot do this, constant absorption in my thoughts, then Ath chittam samadhatum na shaknoshi mai sthiram abhyasa yogena tato Mamichhaptum dhananjaya. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, you will develop a desire to attain to me. Na shaknoshi mai sthiram. You cannot do this. Then what you should do? Abhyasa yogena tato, you practice the regulated principles of this yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Then what will happen? Mam ichhatum dhananjaya. Now we may not even desire to attain Krishna consciousness, to think of Krishna always. So by following the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga, intense desire to have attraction for Krishna, to engage in Krishna service will awaken in the heart. And then by doing that, person will be able to absorb oneself in the thoughts of Krishna. So topmost is always absorption in thoughts of Krishna. Second is regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga. Now, one may tell, I cannot even do this. Regulated principles, getting up early in the morning, chanting the names of Krishna, offering him aarti, giving him something to eat, and dressing him, and observing fasts on certain days. Like this, many rules and regulations are there. I cannot follow even that. That is somehow troublesome. Then Lord Krishna he is very merciful. He tells, Abhyasepya samarthosi mat karma paramo bhava madartham api karmani kurvan siddhim avapsyasi. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. Madartham api karmani. So one cannot do this chanting or sankirtan or worshipping Lord early in the morning, fasting, so many other things. Then engaging oneself in the service of Krishna is what is recommended here. Madartham, for my sake, api karmani, kurvan siddhim avapsyasi. If you do this, then you will also come to the perfect stage. Gradually, you will be able to follow the rules and regulations, and then eventually your mind will become fixed on me. So how to work for Krishna? This we have seen in the last verse of 11th chapter also. Mat karma krin, mat parmo, mat bhakta, sanga varjita, mat karma krin, Krishna karma. So what is Krishna karma? Krishna has this karma of spreading this knowledge. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. When people forget the path of religion, righteousness, the right path of attaining love of God, going back to God, then I come here to give this knowledge. So spreading this knowledge is Krishna's work. And to spread this knowledge, we need everything. We need organization. We need so many resources, financial resources. So if one has money, one can contribute money to such an end. If one has got any skills, one knows the art of civil engineering, you can please come and render services by constructing the establishment for Krishna. If you have your other skills, I am very expert floor cleaner. Come and clean, sweep the floor of Krishna. That is also Krishna karma. I do not know much. I just grow vegetables. Then grow vegetables for Krishna, bring and offer them to Krishna. Whatever activities you are doing, I just know how to cook for Krishna, Krishna karma. One should do work for Krishna. All one's skills can be used for Krishna. So those skills, if used for Krishna, then that also brings a person to spiritual perfection. This is third level after that. Now I cannot even do that because of ignorance. I do not know that I have to do it. Or sometimes a person may have different affiliation to different faith, or there could be restrictions of family, society, distance, geography. Then how one is able to do if it is not possible? Then Lord Krishna mentions, Athay tad apya shaktosi kartum mad yogam ashritaha sarva karma phalatyagam tatah kuru yatatmavan. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness, then try to add giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated. You cannot do this, just give up the results of your work. That is very important. So, if one does not know that the aim of life is Krishna, absolute truth is Krishna, the work should be done for him, the result of the work should be offered to him, then other activities are recommended here. Because it needs elevation in consciousness to know that. So what are other activities? Then philanthropic activities, working for social interest, national interest, and general welfare, physical welfare, although that is not very high form of service, because service should be eternal. It should be giving permanent relief to people. But if such knowledge is not there, that is also recommended. Feeding people, giving support to people in the form of finances or infrastructure or XYZ, old age homes, hospitals, educational institutions, teaching some skills, helping people in general. So these are also recommended. Such activities when performed nicely, but one should know how to work for others. One should learn to give up the results of activities. This is bare minimum that one has to do for spiritual advancement. Now in between also there are few steps. What are those? Lord Krishna explains. Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasaj jnanadhyanam vishishyate Dhyanat karma phalatyagas tyagachantiranantaram. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action, for by such renunciation one can attain peace of mind. So this could be little confusing if you compare with the previous verses, so I'll explain what does it mean. Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat. From the practice of giving up the results of one's activity, what Lord Krishna just mentioned is jnanam, cultivating knowledge. But unless a person gives up the results of the activities for others, so minimum 50% should be given up for others, as I've told before also, this is the formula. So this is practical thing. Ideal is one should just keep body and soul together. That was what Brahmanas were doing. They will not save one grain for the next day. Just they will somehow arrange maintenance for that day, and they practice dependence on the Supreme Lord. Brahmanas will not save anything at all. Just they will keep body and soul together. But it may not be practical for everyone. So God gives very practical instructions. If we are thinking that something is written which is very difficult to understand, not practical, that means we might not be understanding from the right source or not under proper guidance. The knowledge mentioned in Vedas is there to be understood and to be implemented. So under proper guidance, in proper source, it should be understood and implemented. So one has to act in this consciousness. One must give up the results of one's activities. But because God is practical, He tells, not everyone can be expected to become Brahmana immediately and just live by keeping body and soul together. That is why others, they have this formula of using 50% minimum for Krishna service. 25% of wealth should be kept for emergency purpose, because in household there could be emergencies. And in 25% of the income, one should be able to meet his expenses, regular expenses. So our living standard should never exceed more than 25% of income. 25% is bank reserve and 50% should be used for Krishna. This is practical. And ideal, you can aspire to reach a stage where you are just living by keeping body and soul together. Rest everything is going for Krishna. Now this 50% also could be tough. So you can start with minimum 30% or 20% or at least 10% or whatever is possible for you. You are in great financial crunch, at least give $1, one rupee for Krishna. Start with that minimum. But something we should start, we should fix it, and gradually we can aspire to reach more and more and reach this recommended of minimum 50%. So this should be done for Krishna by giving the results of one's activities. Even if one gives for general welfare work, which is the first rung of this yoga ladder, then one's intelligence and mind becomes purified. Then one can understand the spiritual subject matter. That is why it is told, Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat. Better than this practice of giving up the results for general welfare work is jnanam, the path of knowledge. And higher than the path of knowledge is jnana dhyanam vishishyate. When a person advances in knowledge, then automatically one learns to meditate. So process of meditation is better than that of cultivating knowledge. Jnana dhyana vishishyate. And higher than meditation is dhyanat karma phalat tyagas. So one may ask, what is this? Better than karma phal tyag is jnana, better than jnana is dhyan, and better than dhyan is again karma phal tyag? No. These karma phal tyagas are different. Giving up the results for general people and giving up the results for Krishna. So better than meditation is giving up the results for Krishna. So you can just imagine, dhyan and jnana are so tough. One has to give up the family life, do such great tapasya. Brahmacharya is must. Strong celibacy in mind, body and deed. And then we just understood the process of Ashtanga Yoga. Dhyana, it is so difficult sitting in one place without any motion, without eating, sleeping, stopping, all that, so difficult. But higher than that, more powerful than that is karma phalat tyagat, giving up the results of activities for Krishna. So if one learns, somehow one gives the results of activities for Krishna, that is better than Dhyan Yoga also. This is the verdict here. You read here. Dhyanat karm phalat tyagas, tyaga shantir anantaram. One gets unlimited peace. So you can practice this. Give up the results for Krishna, and then you see shantir anantaram. We are looking for peace. Peace and war both are created by Krishna. Happiness and distress both are created by Krishna. You give up the results of activities for Krishna, practically you will experience anantaram shanti. Antar means interval, without any interval, constant peace. One will be able to, even householders will be able to relish the consciousness of a sannyasi if they follow the practical principles of Bhakti Yoga and give up the results for Krishna, minimum 50%. Then consciousness of sannyasi, anantaram, the peace for which we were always hankering, we will find that peace. So here very beautifully Krishna has explained this yoga ladder. So the bottommost rung is engaging in one's duties. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra was the Varnashrama system. Now whatever job, business, occupation we have, we can do that, but give up the results for general work if there is no higher sense. But if we can follow Gyan, then that is better. Understanding what is truth by reading the Vedas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita. Higher than that is Dhyan, the process of meditation on the super soul within the heart. Higher than that is giving up the results for Krishna, Yaga Shantir Anantaram. Higher than that is, Lord Krishna has mentioned, Madartham api Kaunteya, working for Krishna. So what is the difference between giving up the results of activities for Krishna and working for Krishna? So one does not exactly want to work for Krishna. Krishna is telling you do this activity. No, I am attached to that activity, but I will give the results to you. Just like one son is telling, no father, I don't want to work with you, but I will give you maintenance. I will give all my money to you, but I want to do this kind of job. I want to live away from you. So this is also better. At least he's supporting the family, supporting the father, parents. But a better, more obedient child would say, yes father, you will please tell me, what should I do? You want me to be here? I will be here with you, no problem. So that is higher stage. So giving up the results of Krishna means a person is attached to the results. He will enjoy and give up for Krishna also. But higher than that is working just for Krishna under the direction of Krishna. And higher than that is engaging in rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga, getting up early in the morning, Brahm Muhurta, taking bath at least twice a day, and worshipping the Lord in the temple, chanting, doing kirtan, offering food to the Lord, regular reading of the scriptures. And higher than that, the topmost level is always the mind is absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, intelligence is absorbed in Krishna's service. All the limbs are completely engaged in service of Krishna. For one moment, a person does not forget Krishna. This is the topmost platform. So in this way, gradual elevation is sought in spiritual life. So very clearly, Krishna has explained this. This is called yoga ladder. Everything is yoga. So a person is expected to keep moving upwards. But when a person stucks at some level, then he is known by the respective rung. When has got stuck at the Gyan level, he is called Gyan Yogi. When has got stuck at Dhyan level, he is called Dhyan Yogi. Otherwise, Yogi means he should be progressive, should keep on moving upwards. And finally, he should reach Mai eva mana adhasva, Mai buddhim niveshaya, mind intelligence completely absorbed in Krishna. Adveshta sarva bhutanam, Maitraha karuna evacha, Nirmamo nirahankaraha, Samadukha sukhakshami, Santushta satatam yogi, Yatatma drida nishchayaha, Mayarpita mano buddhir, Yo madbhakta same priyaha. One who is not envious, but who is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, who is free from false ego and equal both in happiness and distress, who is always satisfied and engaged in devotional service with determination, and whose mind and intelligence are in agreement with me, he is very dear to me. Now Krishna is explaining the position of this topmost yogi. Personalist, devotee is better than impersonalist. Now what is his position? So Krishna is explaining, Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam. He is not envious of anybody. As we discussed, we are all envious of each other. Even within the family, there is enviousness. Oh, brother is earning more than me, sister is earning more than me. Sometimes there is envy. There is envy everywhere among the community members, neighbors, friends, relatives. We cannot see others advancing. That is why we all are working hard. We cannot see ourselves lagging behind. But a devotee does not fall for this mindless competition. I am eternal, this temporary competition. That too, this competition takes place in a society where there is envy, there is no love. So Adveshta, devotee, is not part of this Dveshta, this enviousness. Maitraha Karuna Evacha. He is very, very friendly, very, very compassionate to all the living entities. Compassionate means he sees that everybody is suffering only because of lack of this knowledge. So he tries to spread this knowledge. This is the best means of showing compassion. Nirmamo Nirahankaraha. He does not have any sense of mama, proprietorship, because Nirahankaraha, he does not have ahankar, false ego, that I am the body. So I am not the body, so this body belongs to Krishna. Anything which I have produced from my body, that also does not belong to me. My children don't belong to me. My property, wealth does not belong to me. Everything belongs to Krishna. So if neighbor's money is stolen, shall we get disturbed? Not at all. Similarly, such a person, whether he gets money, he loses money, is not at all disturbed. He is always equipoised. Of course, for the service of Krishna, he will try his level best to protect the body, to protect the money. But if it goes, despite our best efforts to save it for Krishna, that means it is Krishna's plan. So he is not disturbed at all. Cashier will try his level best to keep proper track of notes, count it, protect it from general people. If there is robbery in the bank, then what can be done? Cashier's job will be intact. He will not be scolded for that. So sometimes when Krishna plans it, things may be there, things may not be there. But devotee is always equipoised. That is why it is told, Sam Dukha Sukha Kshami. In Dukh and in Sukh, he is always Sama. He is always equipoised. Santushta Satatam Yogi. Such a person is always satisfied in every circumstances. Now we are taught never to remain satisfied. What is the civilization? One should learn the art of remaining satisfied in every circumstances. Whatever is happening outside, I am not affected by it. Yat Atma Dridha Nishchaya. Why is not affected by it? Because with great determination he is working just to advance in one's Krishna consciousness. Just like a child or a student who is writing examination. Sometimes it could be troublesome. It could be very hot there in the examination hall. The conditions may not be proper. The seating arrangement would not be most comfortable. But still he writes the exam. Because he is completely focused on the objective why one is here. One is not sitting in the exam hall to have a very luxurious sitting, to have the best of the air conditioners, to have best of the music inside. No, one is there to clear an examination. Similarly, we are here to clear the examination. One need not take many more births and deaths. One needs to become immortal in this human form of life. So one should be completely focused, Dridha Nishchaya, with great endeavor. One should advance on this path with great determination. So thus a devotee is always equipoised in happiness or in distress. Because one understands nothing belongs to me, something is coming, something is going. I will do my level best, but then it is happening as per Krishna's plan. So he is equipoised. So this art of equanimity is very important. So these qualities we might feel why Krishna is repeating again. Every other chapter Krishna tells Santushta, always remain satisfied. Sama Dukha Sukha Kshami. We have understood why again he is repeating. Because it is very important to develop these qualities. A materialistic society does not tell, they tell the other way around. Get disturbed in misery, become elated when you become successful, and remain dissatisfied so that you keep working hard. All these wrong concepts are being fed. So we have to develop these qualities, thus Krishna is repeating. And Mai Arpit Manobuddhir, mind, Manobuddhir, Krishna is repeating. Use your intelligence not for arranging your material opulence. That will anyway come as per destiny, whatever is there. Don't worry about it. So use your intelligence, how I can engage more in the service of Krishna. And Mana, mind also should be absorbed in me. Mind and intelligence should be absorbed in me. Yo mad bhaktaha, such a bhakta means devotee. Same priyaha, such a devotee is very dear to me. So now there is no doubt. Now we will see in every shloka Krishna is mentioning, Yo mad bhakta same priya, such a bhakta is dear to me. Bhaktiman me priyo naraha, such a devotee is very dear to me. So if somebody reads Bhagavad Gita, one cannot come to any other conclusion but Bhagavad Gita. It is so clear. Where is the question of anything else? But unfortunately, people have not read even one shloka or its explanation in the Bhagavad Gita. Or even if they read some other, they get misled. So many commentaries are there. They are not able to find the perfect Bhagavad Gita of disciplic succession. Otherwise, it is so clear, right? Can anybody interpret it? It is very clear from the verses, the word itself. Yasmano dvijate loko, lokano dvijate chayaha, harshamarsh bhayodvegair, mukto yasacha me priyaha. He for whom no one is put into difficulty, and who is not disturbed by anxiety, who is steady in happiness and distress, is very dear to me. So this is very important qualification of a devotee. Yasma no dvijate loko, one who is not cause of anxiety, dissatisfaction, fearfulness, disturbance for others, is a devotee, and one who never comes into fearfulness, anxiety, or disturbance by others. One does not disturb others and one is not disturbed by others. That is a devotee. So it is not that one has to arrange all the external circumstances to become free from anxiety, fear, depression, disturbance. No, one simply has to work upon oneself. We do not know this. We often think other people are responsible for miseries in my life. No, I am responsible because of my low consciousness. If I elevate myself in Krishna consciousness, then nobody will have any capacity to disturb me. And at the same time, the devotees are also not cause of disturbance, anxiety, fearfulness for others. So this important thing we have to keep in mind and we have to practice. Of course, we need not practice all these things separately. These qualities will develop automatically by practicing devotional service. But one must strive, one must aspire to attain these while practicing devotional service. Anapeksha shuchir daksha udasino gatavyathaha sarvarambha parityagi yo madbhaktas same priyaha. A devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and who does not strive for some result, is very dear to me. Yo na rishyati na dveshti na shochati na kankshati shubha shubha parityagi bhaktiman yassame priyaha. One who neither grasps pleasure or grief, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, is very dear to me. So just see every verse Krishna is mentioning, Bhaktiman yasame priya, Bhaktiman yasame priya. The devotee is dear to me. Bhakta te tiva me priya. The devotee is dear to me. So Krishna very clearly wants to tell Maya Veshimano Yemam Nitya Yukta Upasate, who is always Upasate, worshipping me, mind absorbed in me, attached to me. He is very dear to me. Devotee is very dear to me because he is having all these qualifications. So there is no doubt that only a devotee, bhakti yogi, is dear to Krishna, most dear to Krishna. Na rishyati na dveshti. Same qualifications of equanimity. Because he understands this material world is illusion. In illusion, there is no need of being happy or coming under stress. So, na rishyati na dveshti, neither grasps pleasure or grief. Na shochati na kankshati, does not aspire for anything, does not lament for anything. Because he is thoroughly convinced, presence or absence of anything does not make me happy or under stress. But presence or absence of Krishna consciousness makes me happy or in distress. One who has Krishna consciousness can remain happy despite all material odds. One who does not have Krishna consciousness cannot be happy despite all material comforts. So coming and going of material pleasures, pains, opulences or people does not impact him at all. So this is wrong education that you will be happy when you attain something. Thus everyone is working very hard to attain something. If they don't attain, they are in lamentation, shochati. And if they attain somehow, that happiness is also not satisfying to the heart. This is propaganda. That if you attain this, you'll be happy. Movies will do propaganda. They lived happily ever after. No one has lived happily ever after. It is not possible to live happily ever after. One can be happy only in Krishna consciousness. Unless the water is being poured on the root, leaf cannot be happy. So one cannot be happy without serving God and loving God. So propaganda, movies, they do happily ever after. And then people wonder, have I got into wrong marriage? Have I got a wrong person? Let me change the person. This is wrong. And all the other companies will tell, this is very nice job. There is job satisfaction. One thinks, let me change the job. I'll be happy. No, sir, it is not possible. It is just propaganda. The coaching institutes will do propaganda. You crack this examination and then you see you are so happy, such name, fame, recognition. Those who have cracked such examinations, they see there is not much difference in life. Maybe I should do something more. This is just propaganda, just propaganda. So that is why who have attained all these top positions are not satisfied in their lives. So that is why devotee does not hanker for anything. He knows what is the use of hankering. I just need to keep my body and soul together and work to advance in Krishna consciousness. And if anything goes away, anyway, that is not cause of my distress. Na shochi, there's not laments. Shubha Shubha Parityagi. We want to do good things and we want to avoid bad things. But devotee is willing to do all the bad things also if it is required to be done for Krishna. For bad things, usually a person has to suffer. So if one kills another living entity, one has to suffer. But here we see Arjuna became ready to kill everybody, anybody. We saw in the previous discourse how gopis, they gave the dust of their feet to be put on Krishna's head. One will go to hell if one puts the dust of one's feet on God's head. But gopis told, no, if Krishna becomes well, he comes out of his fever by taking this dust, let us go to hell and suffer. Let Krishna become well. So thus a devotee is willing to do anything inauspicious for Krishna and is willing to give up all auspiciousness also for Krishna. For him, Krishna's pleasure only matters. Thus, such an attitude when somebody possesses, Bhaktiman Same Priyaha, he becomes very dear to Krishna. Samashatrau cha mitre cha tatha manapamanayoh shitoshna sukha dukkheshu samasanga vivarjitah tulya nindastutir mauni santushto yena kenachit aniketa sthirmatir bhaktiman me priyo naraha. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contamination, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge and engaged in devotional service is very dear to me. So devotee is not enemy of even one's enemy, because one knows if any enemy is casting aspersions, trying to do something bad to me, that is a result of my own karma. There is no use of harboring any bad sentiments about even the people who act in a reverse way, as per general perspective. For a devotee, everything is favorable. Somebody is creating physical, mental troubles, it is good. One takes it as purification, as a means of detachment from material world. Material opulence somebody offers, he uses that for service of Krishna. So from devotee's perspective, everything is good. Just like Krishna told to Arjuna, Nimitta matram bhava savyasachin, become an instrument in the fight. Nobody is going to return back alive from this battle. Now if you want credit, then you become instrument. In a similar fashion, happiness and distress due to us will come to us. They are simply instruments. What is the use of being angry upon the instrument, that creates more karma, more bad karma. So thus a devotee does not take offense even from one's enemies. He is equipoised. Sama shatraucha mitrechas. In a same fashion, the friendly behavior is also as per the karma. So devotee is always equipoised for friends as well as enemies. Only in illusion somebody is perceived as friend, somebody, just like in a drama. Somebody will act as villain, somebody will act as hero. They could be friends outside in real life. So even starts believing that yes, if somebody is your opponent, like Arjuna is there, his opponents are there, one has to kill. But all these things should be done as a matter of duty, without thinking the other party is my enemy. So in a similar fashion, one needs to do duties very nicely. If one has got body of mother, then son's body should be taken care very nicely, daughter's body should be taken care of very nicely. But one should understand the son, daughter, mother is only temporary drama. As per the roles we have got, machines we have got, we have to play the part. One should not get carried away thinking this is reality. So thus, the devotee in his consciousness is equipoised, friends or enemy. The feelings are generated only in illusion. He does not have animosity or special affection. He is equipoised to all. Sees everyone as part and parcel of God. As soon as one sees any living entity, one offers respect. Because Lord as Paramatma is sitting within the heart of friend, of enemy, of animals. So any living entity we see, we should offer respect immediately as we offer respects to temple. This is the disposition of devotee. Sama shatraucha mitrecha. Tatha manapamaneyo. Man and apman. It is also for the body. If somebody has got is sitting in a dull machine, then the machine anyway will behave in a dull manner. If somebody tells you are a dull person, dullard, one should not be disturbed. My machine is dull. Somebody is not beautiful. No, I am not. Souls are all beautiful. But my body is ugly. So I don't get disturbed. I don't mind. So somebody is praising or criticizing, it is only for the body. I take a nice body and the body is so good looking. And somebody praises me, oh, you're looking so nice. I should not get carried away. So thus a devotee is completely undisturbed by man and apman. The whole world is hankering for man, trying to avoid apman. In this illusion, they are taking so much of stress and anxiety in life. All because of illusion that I am this body. So devotee is equipoised in pleasure, in pain, in man, apman, in praise or in criticism. Shitoshna sukha dukkheshu. In material pleasure or material grief, in heat and cold, devotee is also equipoised. He is always focused on his service to Krishna, not deterred by heat, cold, happiness or distress. Tulya ninda stitirmoni, same thing, santushtu yena kenachit. Always one is satisfied in every circumstances. Aniketa sthirmatir. Aniketa means one who does not care about residence. For service of Krishna, one can accept residence under a tree also, or one can live in palace also, does not matter. Wherever Krishna's service is required, devotee is willing to live, he does not care about residence. So all these things make a devotee very dear to Krishna. So all these qualities we can note and we should aspire to develop. Spiritual life is so nice, simply if we desire, we will attain it. Material life, if we desire, we may or may not attain in this life. Everything depends upon karma. If we have strong desire, nature will inspire us to do right karma. And then after a certain number of lives or whenever it is possible, once we have done sufficient karma, we will get that result. But ultimately, any result means more birth and death. So spiritual life, similarly, whatever you desire, you can attain even in this life. There is no destiny controlling spiritual affairs. So if we want to develop this wonderful consciousness, we can do it. So one should aspire to have these qualities. So that is why being stressed, because unless we develop these qualities, we don't advance really. So one should aspire and engage in service of Krishna. Engagement in service of Krishna will bring forth all these qualities automatically. Separately, we need not do any other endeavor. Just Krishna's service. Ye tu dharmamritam idam yathoktam paryupasate Shraddhadhana mat parama bhaktastetiva me priya. He who follows this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engages himself with faith, making me the supreme goal, is very, very dear to me. So Krishna has explained so far, such a devotee is dear to me, he is very dear to me. Now Krishna is mentioning Ativ means very, very dear to me. Who is very, very dear to Krishna? Ye tu dharmamritam idam, who follows this imperishable path of devotional service, who completely engages himself with faith, Shraddha Dhana Mat Parama, making me the supreme goal. So one should not simply get stuck in these qualities or engage in bhakti for some other motive. One should just have Krishna only as the ultimate aim of life. One whose aim of life is Krishna and who follows this path, such a devotee is very, very dear to Krishna. And then there is one devotee who is most dear to Krishna. Nobody has been dearer. Here Krishna has mentioned various qualities. You don't get disturbed by happiness and distress, you are dear to me. Don't care about residence, you are dear to me. And you don't hanker for anything, don't lament for anything, you are dear to me. But there is one qualification Krishna tells, that Krishna mentions at the end of Bhagavad Gita. Nobody has ever been dearer to Krishna, and nobody in future also shall ever be so dear to him as this person. Who is this person? 18th chapter Krishna writes. So entire Bhakti Yoga is being dear to Krishna. The more we become dear to Krishna, pleasure in devotional service, spiritual life comes. We get all the knowledge. Who am I? What is God? What is our relationship? Everything follows automatically. Simply one has to become dear. So the person who is most dear to Krishna, Krishna mentions at the end of Gita is Nacha tasman manusheshu kaschin me priya krittamaha ya imam paramam guhyam mad bhakteshu abhidhasyati. One who explains this knowledge to others, preaches to others. This is a secret. First secret is to understand Bhagavad Gita, and second secret is to spread this knowledge to others. Then we become most dear to Krishna. So with this ends this very important chapter, devotional service. These very important verses are chanted, just 20 verses in many ceremonies, Abhishekam ceremonies in all the temples, because all the confusion is completely sorted out, and the topmost position, the topmost personality is completely, very clearly, without any doubt, explained in these verses. So let us try to assimilate, let us try to develop these qualities. With this, the sandwich portion, the stuff, the most important matter is there in between the bread loaves of the sandwich. So similarly in Bhagavad Gita, the most important section has been very carefully preserved in the middle, that is Bhakti Yoga, the middle 6 chapters. First 6 chapters Karma Yoga we have studied, now last 6 chapters Jnana Yoga. This Jnana Yoga also is very important, because if you follow simply Bhakti Yoga, that is very nice. Just you can engage in service of Krishna. But as we have discussed, we are prone to use our discretion and deliberation in this age. And culture also is not so strong. If somebody gives some false arguments, we may deviate and leave the path. So that we become firmly fixed on this path, this process of Jnana Yoga, understanding, analyzing the path of extricating oneself from this material nature, how living entity gets trapped, all this knowledge is very, very helpful and important. Let us understand this wonderful what is this nature, how does it behave, how does one get trapped, how to come out of it. This wonderful knowledge will be explained henceforth. So very soon we'll meet with chapter 13. Thank you so much for hearing. Keep on chanting always. Hare Krishna.